What's up, guys? So we have 415 issues 1 and 2. This is from Anthony Morman, or as he's titled himself in this one, Lord Mormon. So I'm going to do issue 1 and 2. They are a little bit shorter, and that's why I'm going to combine them because we're also focused on the same characters as well. So I guess we'll just get right into it, right? So our main protagonist is an older woman, but kind of retelling how she got in the place she's at. And she describes her family as loving, and her dad is also, a very loving man and willing to, come over, play with her, and do the things a dad should do. Being a father myself, that's, yeah, you got to do that. But then she noticed he started to get stressed out. His overall tone and the way he carries himself, something's changed. And one night, he tells his daughter that, quote, "What I'm about to do is for you and your mother." And then we find out her dad, Silas, was brutally murdered. From there, we get to see kind of the fallout as to what happened. Our main protagonist, Joan, she is able to deal with it in a more natural response. Obviously sad and depressed. The day of the funeral, she couldn't handle all the new faces, so she goes out to the park. She meets a couple new friends who are Jason and Damon, and it's a more natural way of handling things. Her mother, not so much. This hit pretty hard for her. So the days leading up to the funeral, she basically just sat in her room the whole time, stared, and just basically withered away. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't do much of anything. The day of the funeral, she had to be wheeled in, and she was having a hard time dealing with things. Afterwards, this is where things start really getting bad. She got into drugs, drinking. She's sleeping around. She's just trying to find a way to deal with the pain and the misery, and not doing it too good. On one night, she got so drugged up. She was so out of it, she was peeling her face off with a razor. Now, side note, this gave me some big vibes of what is that, 2013 Evil Dead, with the chick with the mirror. Yeah, I was big time getting those vibes, so if you're kind of squeamish on that one, that may not be a panel for you. And Joan tries to stop her mother, obviously, Mom, what are you doing? Well, this freaks the mom out, and she more or less attacks Joan. She starts running at her. Joan gets to her room, slams the door behind her, and her mom's just pounding on the door and screaming and just shouting. Well, that carried on, I guess, for about an hour, and then suddenly, they go away. Jason and Damon come back, and they let her know it's okay to come out. Now, that's when I started to suspect something with these two. I don't think, at this point, I didn't find that they were just friends, more imaginary, or a split personality kind of thing. That's when I started to suspect this, right? So immediately Joan goes to call the cops, and then go find out where the hell her mom went. And unfortunately, goes into her dad's study, finds that her mom had slit her throat, and is basically on her last couple breaths before she dies. So when the police show up, they found her back in the bathroom, messing with the pieces of her mom's face. Um, and then, they escort her out of there. And then on the last page, we see the older version of Joan, Damon, and Jason in basically what looks like to be a mental institution. And that's book one. Um, Depressing, to say the least. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Um, it makes you feel some sort of way, so I definitely will give it props for that one. But before I continue on, I'll just go into issue two, and then we'll cover them both here. So, issue two, we continue with Joan. We fast forward 15 years from that night. And then we see Joan. She's sitting in a cubicle. Um, and then her boss has summoned her, Mr. Heath. Um, we see Joan approaching, and at first she's pretty positive, like, oh, I'm probably going to get that promotion finally. Um, but then it starts to set in. What if that's not what it is? What if it's, no, I can't think like that. Like those inner paranoid thoughts that get into your head. So she's out there. She's kind of looking. She even asks the receptionist, like, do you have any idea why? No, I got nothing. And then she finally gets to go in, and Mr. Heath says, we need to make some cutbacks, just to get to the short and skinny of it. What are you willing to do to keep your job? Real sleazy ass shit, and really implying, hey, if you do a little something for me, you can keep your job. I'm like, ugh. So then suddenly Jason and Damon appear, and I'm like, okay, these two are clearly imagination. And then I don't know which one's which. But the bigger of the duo come over and says, go to your room. And suddenly Joan crashes down into her room, and I don't know how this transformation happens, because it does crash down, and we don't see how the other one takes over, because at this point, yeah, it's a split personality thing. Because what we do see is Joan's reflection in the mirror on the table, but it's the big guy sitting in there. I'm not sure if it's Jason or Damon. And basically, he just whoops the piss out of Mr. Heath. And then the last thing we see is Heath is like screaming, that he'll pay attention now. And the big guy just calls him a pathetic little man and wants to test out his listening skills. And that's issue two. So that's where these two land. So like I said, so far very, very interesting stuff. Yeah, seeing that we were going down the split personality thing, I definitely want to know more on how this goes. I also want to know, like, is this all, like, was the job in her head? Because, at the end of issue one, we see she's in a mental institution, or did she feel like, did she get out of there because, she had recovered, but this whole stressed out thing with Mr. Heath brought things back? I don't know yet. I do wish to know more on that. So just some of the characters I want to touch on. The mom and the dad. I never did get the mom's name, but the dad is Silas. we do know that he's kind of the catalyst of all of this, right? His murder, which remained unsolved, that this was what sparked off everything. It's what put the mom into a spiral. It's what ended up giving Joan the split personalities from her depression. Um, what is it that happened? What did he think was going to happen that night? I am curious to know. Then we have Joan, who's our main protagonist. Um, she's got split personalities. Seems Joan herself seems to be well put together, but the big one, I don't know if it's Jason or Damon, does not seem to want to do any kind of talking. He looks like once that one is summoned, somebody's getting their ass kicked. And so then, yeah, Jason and Damon, uh, they were basically created or met, however you want to go about that one, when she was in a obvious depression, while she was at the park. I that beginning part, I thought she was handling things well and just happened to meet a couple new friends, maybe somebody to lean on. No, unfortunately, she did not handle things that well either. At least wasn't shaving off her face, my God. Um, so some of the things that I like and things that I feel like could have been adjusted here. So you feel bad for Joan. I do like it's got a way. These comics have got a way where like I came out of it and I was kind of bummed out. I'm like, damn. I know that these are all created characters. The story's created, but you feel bad for Joan. You're just like, fuck, man, poor girl. She went through so much already. Um, and I want to know more. So we saw what one of the other two personalities does. What does the third one do? We know Joan. We know either Jason or Damon. I want to know what the other one of the duo is, because he's not like big and buff like the other one. Um, my suspicion is that he's even more ruthless, but in a different manner. um, and still sticking with the split personality, I like how they were interacting with one another. The one came over and told Joan to go to her room, basically saying, I got it from here, let me take over. And I really liked that. It was a real interesting way to show like the personalities changing. I also, you're getting some of the movie Split. You're getting some of that vibe. I'm not sure if that had any affiliation, in what brought about these comics, but especially like the big buff guy. Well, I think it was like the Beast or something like that in that movie, where even though the main protagonist in that was kind of a scrawnier person when that was summoned, um, he had a lot more strength to him. So I was getting some of those vibes there. Uh, Really, the biggest negative that I got. I mean, I'm not gonna docket anything uh, for kind of depressing me out a little bit. I like that it made me feel away, but um, I put these two together because these are extremely short. Um, Honestly, you could have just made one comic with the both of these combined, because it is the story of Joan growing up and how we get to a place um, where we're at currently, from my understanding. Kind of showing how she got in her situations here. Especially when we do like a fast forward of 15 years there. That all could have been worked into one comic, I feel. So That's really the only thing that I feel should have been addressed there. Um, Other than that, I would definitely recommend this. If you're okay with seeing a little bit of extreme violence there with the unsettling images of Joan's mom there, and then right there at the end, especially with the little Joan there playing with pieces of her mom's face. I'm like, oof, that's disturbing. Uh, but yeah, no, I definitely recommend this one to people. Again, gonna have the link, or at least YouTube's being kind of weird as far as posting links, so it'll either be a link or at least the actual website where you can find this one. So, uh, but yeah, good read. Definitely want to go check it out. So, but that's all I got for today, guys. So I'll have the third one out before too long as well. Since I've already read that one, I already have my quick thoughts on it. So I'll be doing a deep dive on that one before too long. But yeah, that's all I got for today. So take care, guys, and God bless.